2024 begins a new era in the Big Ten with 4 new teams, of course, 18 teams now in the Big Ten. And we've gone through every single team, giving you predictions, game-by-game predictions for every team. And now we're going to recap that. We're going to give you what the standings will look like based off of my predictions, and also predict the Big Ten championship game. And I did have to fix one mistake. So on the Iowa video and the UCLA video, in that matchup, I had both teams losing. So I had on the UCLA video, I had them losing to Iowa. On the Iowa video, I had them losing to UCLA. The correct pick there was actually supposed to be UCLA winning that game, pulling off an upset. So we'll show you how that changes things for UCLA. And I did make one other change just in my predictions. I will show you that. It wasn't a mistake. It's just something I've changed my mind on. And again, these are the official predictions. When you start in May, sometimes you're going to change your mind a little bit, and that's what I did. So let's start at the top here. Oregon and Ohio State tied for number 1 in the Big Ten. Oregon finishing at the top because of the head-to-head tiebreaker. So I have Oregon beating Ohio State in that head-to-head matchup, but these two teams will play again in the Big Ten championship game. So yeah, really high on both of these teams. I think that they're both, I don't know if I would say locks for the college football playoff, but yeah, pretty much I'd say they're locks for the college football playoff. Worst case scenario in my opinion for both of these teams would be like 10-2, and that's still going to get you in. So I think Oregon and Ohio State definitely the front runners. I know that's no big secret. Everyone pretty much has those two teams at the top. And you can say, well, you're doing the same thing as everybody else. Well, if it's right, why would I change it? So yeah, I would be surprised if any other team, maybe Penn State could sneak in there the way their schedule sets up. I think they would be that next team, but we've actually got Penn State, Iowa, and Michigan all tied for number 3. All of these teams going 7-2, and this is not necessarily in order of the conference standings, especially if there's like a 3-way tie. I'm not going to worry about that. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to kind of go in order of the overall record. But yeah, Penn State 7-2, 10-2 overall. Iowa same thing, and then Michigan 9-3 because I have them losing to Texas. But as far as the Big Ten standings, all 3 of these teams are right there. And so you look at all 3 of those teams potentially being in that playoff mix. Penn State, Iowa at 10-2, but are their schedules tough enough? We'll have to kind of see how that shakes out. And then Michigan, a tougher schedule, 9-3. Could you see potentially Michigan in the playoff rankings ahead of Penn State or Iowa? Well, as far as the Big Ten goes, again, these teams tied right here at 7-2. And then we've got Wisconsin at 6-3 in the Big Ten, 8-4 overall. They're not the only 6-3 team; they're actually tied. So we'll get to that in a second. But the Badgers, I think they can pull this off. Their schedule's pretty tough. It really is, and so maybe I'm a little high on Wisconsin, but I think that Tyler Van Dyke has the potential to get back to what he was a couple of years ago at Miami, and they've got some talent there on offense, and they've got a defense that should be pretty good, especially in the secondary. So I think Wisconsin can get here. I think they can get to 8-4, but it's going to be tough with their schedule. But again, 6-3 in the Big Ten. The other 6-3 team is USC. So here's the change that I made, and I don't want everyone to get too hung up and I always say this in the individual games when I do my predictions, because it's really just about getting the overall record. So technically what I did is I switched the USC and LSU game for my season predictions, but if I had to pick the winner of that game right now, I probably am still leaning towards LSU. So I understand that really doesn't make any sense, but it's just about getting this overall record correct. You know, USC could potentially beat LSU and then lose to Notre Dame. So it could just easily be that way, and maybe that would have been easier to just say I changed the Notre Dame pick. But yeah, 8-4 overall, 6-3. I had them at 7-5. I changed that just because I really like this defensive staff. I like what I've been hearing this offseason. I think the offense is going to be just fine. So I've got USC, yes, getting to 8-4, not 7-5. Some people even higher on this team. I'm going to hold off on that. There's a lot of potential for USC to be really good this year, but there's a lot of unknowns at the same time. So I can't go higher than 8-4, but I do feel a little bit better about this Trojan team. So tied with Wisconsin. Wisconsin, I think I had winning the head-to-head matchup there, so they would be ahead of USC in the conference standings. Then we've got Nebraska, the only 5-4 team in my predictions. I've got this team finishing 8-4 overall, so a big-time improvement from where they were last season. I think Matt Rule's going to get it done. The big question, of course, is going to be Dylan Raiola at quarterback. Can he play mistake-free football? Can he give them enough? I don't think he has to be a superstar. If he's a superstar, then I think they do probably better than 8-4. But I think they're going to be solid on defense. They'll have a good run game. And if he takes care of the football with their schedule, they've got enough, I think, to get to 8-4. And that's why I picked them. And then we got a bunch of 4 and 5 teams. So Washington, Indiana, Rutgers, and UCLA all going 4 and 5. Washington actually 7 and 5 overall because they have a pretty easy non-conference schedule. So that's why you see them ranked where they are. I think Washington is going to take a big step back for sure. But I don't think they're going to drop off completely. I think there's still enough talent on this roster. Got some good pieces on defense. Will Rogers steps in at quarterback. Offensive line, I think, is going to be a big concern. But I think they can get to 7 and 5. And then Indiana, we've talked about them being a potential surprise team. I think I might actually be low. I think they might actually do better than that. I went conservative because I really think that they could be like an 8-4, 9-3 type team if it comes together for them. They've got a proven winner now as a coach, and they bring in some transfers with him from James Madison. I think they've upgraded the team, especially on offense. I think they're going to be very good on that side of the ball. Curtis Rourke comes in, really good quarterback. So, yeah, Indiana could be even higher than this. But I'm going conservative, 6-6. Rutgers, 6-6. Really, I'm not that high on Rutgers, but their schedule sets up really well. So I think with that defense, they're able to get to a bowl game. And then UCLA. So, yeah, I changed that pick. Well, I didn't change it. I screwed up on the UCLA video. I had UCLA beating Iowa all along. I just marked it down wrong when I went to do my video. But, yeah, I think this is another team that's being underrated. I think that you look at the coaching changes and some players that they lost, there's still talent on this roster. And I think UCLA can get to a bowl game. So that means we've got 12 teams here getting to a bowl game? Could we see more than that? Yeah, I think actually we do. We see 3 more. That means I've got 15 of the 18 teams getting to a bowl game, which probably is not going to happen. So 1 or 2 of these teams, maybe even all 3 of them, probably won't get there, but we'll see. Maryland, Minnesota, and Northwestern, all 3-6 in the Big Ten, 6-6 overall. Maryland's interesting. I think they're interesting. It's what's going to happen with this offense with a new quarterback. They still got some weapons there. I think the defense, though, is going to be the problem. But if they can play pretty well on that side of the ball, they could possibly win another game or 2. Minnesota, they've got a pretty tough schedule. They bring in a transfer from the FCS level at quarterback who I think is going to do really well for them. And I like the running backs. I like Daniel Jackson back at wide receiver. I think the defense will be better. I think they can get to a bowl game. Northwestern, I think you're going to see a similar team to what we saw last season. Losing Brendan Sullivan does hurt, but they've got some other options there at quarterback, and I think they're able to get to a bowl game. And then finally, we've got Michigan State. 3 more teams, actually. Michigan State, 4-8, 2-7 overall. Really don't know what to expect from this team. A lot of changes on the roster, new coaching staff. Could surprise me. Look, if they go 7-5, I'm not going to be shocked. Because we just don't know. But I think they could go 2-10. I mean, I really have no idea what to expect from this Michigan State team. And then you've got Purdue, 3-9, 1-8. I've talked about this team. I think they're going to be better. I really do. But the schedule is horrible. The way it sets up, I talked about that on the Purdue video. And then finally, we've got Illinois not winning a Big Ten game, finishing just 2-10 overall. And like I said, we did videos on every single team. If you want more of my take, more of my thoughts on these teams, go back and watch those videos. What I probably missed, though, here, Illinois, Purdue, Michigan State, they'll probably win another game or 2, and some of these teams that are 6-6 will probably lose another game, and we won't see 15 teams get to a bowl game or become bowl eligible. But that's where I'm at with my predictions. So I think that Big Ten is going to be very interesting this year, but at the top, it does feel like it's going to be Ohio State and Oregon. That's my Big Ten championship game. I've got Oregon winning the regular season at home. Again, I'm going to repeat this probably every single time I do a video where there's a rematch. Everyone says it's hard to beat a team twice, but if you look at history, if you look at the numbers, especially in conference championship games, the team that won in the regular season usually wins again. I don't remember the exact number, maybe like 60% of the time. But in this case, playing in a neutral field, I think Ohio State is the better team. I think they slip up in Eugene, but I think they get revenge in this game. I think, again, overall, they are the better team, and if they played Oregon at home in the regular season, I'd pick them to beat Oregon twice. But in the Big Ten championship, I'm going Ohio State. I think the Buckeyes finish 12-1 after winning the Big Ten championship, and they'll get either the number 1 or 2 spot in the college football playoff. We'll do the SEC tomorrow, then my playoff predictions, and also I'll show you what I think the final top 25 is going to look like. So give me your predictions for the Big Ten. Who do you have winning it all? You can give me your standings if you want down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel.